$65 a day Jobseeker. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article from Yahoo Finance, because we're seeing more and more calls to increase Jobseeker, to increase the welfare program. Now, I suspect there are a lot of people that have encountered Australia's welfare program for the first time. New Start and Jobseeker. This is the blue line here. Look at that climb from about 700,000 to over 1.4 million at one stage. There are a lot of people that have encountered this, never needed to be on welfare, and now through no fault of their own, they've gone to get this money. And you can see the hundreds of thousands of people that are dependent on this now. So it's understandable why there are more calls to increase it for $65, which would be what, $455 a week, which isn't that much, but it's $900 a fortnight. So the danger with all of this welfare is that, well, it disincentivizes people from working the lower skill jobs where they can't earn that much. It gets to a point where, I could work that extra 30, 40 hours a week and I may only walk away with $200 extra a week or $300 extra. At least that's what happened with the supplement. Now, increasing Jobseeker to $450, I can't imagine that will disincentivize too many people from working. Honestly, I'm surprised it just isn't pegged to inflation, because it seems like it hasn't increased for some time. But also, it's an emergency payment. You shouldn't trust the government to take care of you guys. I'm sorry if you thought so. You just can't trust them. They may change the rules. They may, look at what they're doing to the economy. They may intervene in your lives more than you can imagine. So this is where more and more people we need to encourage to look at being self-reliant and having more of their own emergency funds and ability to survive these drastic interventions into our lives that the government feels necessary to do. But still, let's have a look at this. So welfare groups are calling for a permanent increase in Jobseeker payments to bring people above the poverty line as the federal government moves to reduce the COVID-19 benefits. The Morrison government plans to lower the Jobseeker unemployment supplement by $100 a fortnight from Friday, January 1, and the JobKeeper payment by $200 on Monday. The new rates will be $150 a fortnight for Jobseeker and $1,000 for JobKeeper, and are effective until the end of March. Just think how many businesses are getting propped up by JobKeeper, everyone. The Australian Council of Social Service says the move will see vulnerable people trying to get by on $50 a day. The agency has called for a permanent increase of Jobseeker to $65 a day to bring people above the poverty line. But won't that just lift up the poverty line? As 2021 begins and everyone tries to put 2020 behind them, people without paid work will be trying to get by on just $50 a day, which simply isn't enough to cover housing, food, and transport and bills, the ACOS CEO Cassandra Goldie said. The number of people on Jobseeker doubled to 1.5 million during the pandemic and is expected to rise still more when JobKeeper ends in March. Well, it's actually gone down. We're not at 1.5, we're down now, under 1.4 million. So maybe it's a bit out of date there. Jobseeker is scheduled to revert to its pre-coronavirus rate of an unlivable $40 a day, and the youth allowance will be $33 a day, Dr. Goldie said. Can you live on $40 a day? The problem is housing's so expensive. Why is housing so expensive? Well, one reason is because we have to pay so many taxes that people are looking for ways to minimize their taxes. And one way to minimize taxes is to invest in loss-making houses and use negative gearing to offset that loss on your other income, thereby reducing your taxes, thereby increasing the value of these properties because they're a useful tool to minimize your tax. Get a bubble. And housing becomes even more unaffordable. People in the economy need security to be able to rebuild. Virtually every dollar of the coronavirus supplement goes straight back into the local economy, helping to keep our other people in employment. The federal government has always said the increased payments were a temporary measure, which began in March during the nationwide lockdown. They've been extended in staggered reductions. Federal Labor warned it is too early to reduce the payment. We are not out of the woods yet, and this pandemic and economic effects, they are reverberating around the economy, especially in regional towns and suburbs where there is a lot of casual work, who have borne the biggest brunt, Labor's Bill Shorten told Nine's New Today Show on Tuesday. For the less well-off, we shouldn't be cutting their circumstances at this point in time. The government should reconsider it. I mean, here's the thing. I would rather the government reduces taxation on people where we don't need to have so much support on the state. I mean, if you look at tax, you look at the welfare sector, the biggest proportion of it is on the pension. That's the biggest slice of it, everyone. And I mean, can we keep this up for longer and longer, guys? So let's have a look at this. Here is from the ACOS. This is a new report that shows who is, hang on, I'm getting phone calls here. This is a new report shows who is most impacted by inequality in Australia. So let's have a look through this. A new report by ACOS and the UNSW Sydney shows that pre-COVID single people on Jobseeker, even those with some paid work, and single parents on Jobseeker have been struggling on the lowest rung of the household income scale. Over half are in the lowest 10% of incomes nationally. Half of the people on age pensions are in the lowest 20% of incomes nationally, though widespread home ownership among this group provides a significant degree of protection from poverty. There's the thing. Everyone, home ownership, particularly when you retire, if you own your own home, you're not going to be struggling as much as people who don't. And this is why it's concerning. It's, people are retiring now with mortgage debt. The 10% of older people who rent their homes are in a much more financially distressed position. The report, Inquiry into Australia 2020 Part 2, Who is Affected and Why, sets a baseline of data against which to assess the impacts of COVID-19 is having on inequality in Australia. It reflects where different groups fit in the income and wealth scales and the direct cause of inequality from the latest data available 17-18. Professor Carla Traylor, director of the Social Policy Research Centre at UNSW Sydney, said even before the COVID recession, the highest 20% of households with average after-tax incomes of $4,166 per week had almost 6 times the income of the lowest 20%. What's the point? I don't understand. I mean, that's just reality. There's always going to be a level of inequality because, well, people have different skills and their lives provide them with different opportunities. The best way to deal with inequality is to allow the market freedom so people have the capacity to lift themselves out of the bottom rungs of society. The problem is with all of the interventions in the market will often, they'll affect the lowest 20% worse than everyone else. So, or we like to think of Australia as the land of a fair go. No, it's not. The reality is that Australia has significant levels of inequality, especially wealth inequality. Well, yes, the government's throwing everything at housing. They're not allowing the market to correct. You've got minimum wages that lock people out of work. You've got rules and regulations at a council level and every bloody other level just to start up a business. And then starting up a business, you're expected to be paternalistic for your staff in some regard. So why do you think people offshore work? Why do you think people will hire draftees over in the Philippines rather than train people up here in Australia? Well, it's cheaper and it's less hassle. The latest evidence from other research indicates that the JobKeeper and Jobseeker payments actually reduced overall income inequality despite the recession. But as these payments are wound back, the harsh effects of high unemployment and low income support payments for those affected and reductions in paid working hours will be revealed. Well, it's going to be a K-shaped economy, and the haves and have-nots is going to be exacerbated, guys. While the number of part-time jobs has recovered to its pre-COVID levels, so far only 1/3 of full-time positions have been restored. This will exacerbate income inequality as government income supports are wound back. The Australian Council of Social Service CEO Dr. Cassandra Goldie said, "The report shows inequality was stark in Australia even before this year. when we have experienced the deepest recession since the 1930s. While the government did increase income support at the beginning of the crisis, which has greatly reduced poverty for a time, it is now threatening to cut income support back to the brutal old New Start rate. People on Jobseeker, including single parents, are now being seriously left behind in the economic recovery, especially with the government cutting back income support at Christmas time to just $50 a day and threatening to go back to the old new. I mean, this is emotive language. We know that unpaid caring work increases during lockdowns, especially for women, and this report reveals the impact of unpaid caring work on inequality pre-COVID, with those without full-time work more likely to be in lower income levels. The prospect that high levels of wealth inequality may become entrenched after the pandemic is also concerning. As high-income earners save more of their income and investment returns and house prices pick up again ahead of growth in wages. Well, this is the problem, guys. This is what happens when the government steps in. It's that simple. You know, the report found the highest 10% of households by wealth owns almost half, 46% of all household wealth, followed by the middle wealth group, those in the 60th to 90th wealth percentile, with 38%, leaving the lowest, who are younger and poorer, with just 16% of all wealth. Wealth in the form of shares and other financial instruments and investment properties is especially skewed towards the highest 10%, who hold 2/3 of these assets, including investment properties averaging $802,000 in value, and shares, business, and financial investments worth up to 1.4. The Retirement Income Review revealed that the average value of inheritance received by people in the highest 20% by wealth was around $180,000, twice the middle and 4 times the lowest. Overall superannuation death benefits are projected to rise from $17 billion to $130 billion in 2059, in large part due to lax drawdown requirements and excessively generous exemptions from tax of the earnings of super funds after a member retires. Well, there you have it, everyone. I mean, these organizations are going to call for more government support. I would call for less government intervention into our lives and the ability for people to work themselves out of poverty. What would you suggest, everyone? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. If you're a fan of the channel and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone, and I will see you all next time. Bye for now.